So quickly, chick, chick, chick. So quickly, I picked out eight segments to represent eight passengers that I would choose as passengers. For if and I explained that in earlier, I was supposed to be able to during the Bill Clinton administration with the if you were eligible, a passenger submarine to quote unquote the locker. So I picked out eight, and the first one was the last one on the list is identity. And now, if you were born without quote unquote ID, there's an ego, there's an ID, and this is in philosophy, and this is in psychology, and it's found in Greece, it's found in Rome, it's found in Sigmund Freud, 1930. There's an ego, there's an ID or an id, and there's people that are born and they don't technically have, and go through a little CAT scan, a little MRI, a little bit of, I'm not gonna cut open a scalp and look for, piece up the brain, but I mean, as far as is, really, he doesn't get born without. Interesting. And how did that? Not so good. He might be extradited for Texas when execution when he turns 35 because of things. Really, all that. We'll just leave that in there for now. So there are, yeah, right, names. The first one was The Furthest Face, and I was going to list Ryan Batista, I already mentioned. And the next one was Tom Waits, 93 Bone Machine. Uh, so I mentioned that one, and that goes right into the Green Mile, which then Damascus squished twice. I nominate my brother Matthew Carlson, so, and that goes into Oh Brother Where Art Thou? So that would be Andrew Carlson, which I already mentioned the reasons about that. So, and then the next one goes into another film featuring John Goodman, which was Keelan Garcia. It happened to be Keelan Garcia's first rated R movie, as far as official on the books during some sort of school. It was what she was 13, and she was in the living room, and my parents put me to bed, and says bedtime for you, and she's older, and she's in middle school now, and you're still in grade school. She'll be watching her first rated R movie you're not allowed to watch. So I fell asleep, and eventually I was having bad dreams, and I had nightmares, and I crept down the stairs, and I peeked my head around the TV, and I saw the ballerina scene and some weird German lady talking about sex or something similar, and my dad would turn around and say, "Hey, you back up the stairs." And so it was complicated. You have to do tests, you have to do quizzes, you have to do these are the questions, these are the answers, you have to watch the film, you have to fill out, and there's the FBI policy, and there's all sorts of first rated R film on the books, for learning, with our guardians at that point. And then mine was supposed to be Oh Brother Where Art Thou? And I heard that in chorus and back then, and it was a film and whatever, and we were only 10, and so um, anyway, so the next advertisement said, and we explained that there was the thin black veil, the long black veil, and I suggested the Daryl Finizio. I'm calling him a VIP high roller. I figured he'd be a decent liaison. He's like for a while, actually, for about 4 or 5 years, he's like my friend. He's like, we're friends. Okay. Anyway, so he's the long black veil. Yeah, that. And if you look at the words, for me, it represents like some sort of 1800s law. Some sort of law came around in the 1800s, and it turned into an oldie 1800s folk. Then coast to coast, somehow it was brought back up in the 1940s and 50s and 60s, and if you go through and you look about things like that, and there's some sort of morals or whatever, but for me, and I attribute that to the law, and I attribute that to him. Okay, so the next one is the last commercial, is the last one, and it's 1 through 8, and it's a film starring. It was written throughout the 90s, and they may have started writing the script in the 1980s, and it was an incredibly expensive script that turned into, well, I'm sorry, it has to be maybe 2.5 hours at the most. Most people won't understand, but we can teach it in college, philosophy and psychology, and it's a true thing based on real life. Although it says it's just a movie, of course they said it's just a radio show, and the president came out and said, well, that wasn't necessarily, and he may have been under things and things as far as the Orson Welles and why radio coast to coast was invented, and things. Television was a mandate, one in every home was an actual thing, and the it's put on that. And it's there for a purpose, and whether you like it or not, that's just the way things were for since those things were, invented as far as in the USA. So I'm gonna call this about five, or maybe five. So was there another advertisement on that? Not necessarily were advertisements. And I was putting together a list, and I said I picked 8 originally. So it has that and that, but it also has an older video I recorded, precautionary measures, because I had a sixth sense that might happen. And well, let's forget about that. We'll move on. You're putting together a request list, and you might have some time. So, well, I might have some time. So to and so passengers, I think I picked a decent 8. If watch these, and they're attributed to them, and some or what, and another said, oh, it would have been City Hall for my parrot, unfortunately. And so I put that one in there. And there's the two popes, which I was going to get into. Jerry gave his people. Eventually, he had something, and they said, well, in these terms and in these terms, and if you look at it legally, there, are you like a Greenpeace Army general? Or no, but they do love me, don't they? Okay, take off the sunglasses. We're gonna have to. This might take. So I guess he had a bigger following than the Pope did, as far as over the world. More people were into Jerry than that were for the Pope of the whole world. There's only one Pope in the whole world. There was only one Jerry in the whole world. More people like Jerry than the Pope. Not a joke. Jerry didn't like that, and he thought, well, maybe these people could talking to me, so I can talk to the Pope, so the Pope can talk to Jesus. Well, Jesus isn't hip. And that was a sincere thought and idea that Jerry thought and worked through as an idea and took seriously and sincerely. And so, things came from that, and eventually, that's sort of became as like an approved sort of deal. And so the two popes came out, and I may have had a hand on arts and entertainment and whatever influence on set. But the one interesting thing about that, which I just came to the realization the other day, was well, Anthony Hopkins was sitting in the Pope's chair. He was the Pope. Anthony Hopkins was technically the Pope of the entire world, the only Pope. He was. I mean, and I just came to the realization the other day, so I was still like taken back and struggled by that. So, well, he was there, and Jerry did this with these people. And then there was this boy pointing to the Grateful Dead, announced to a live audience of 600,000 people or more. It was televised, too, right? And it was on the internet, so it was all over the world and the coast. He says Farwell burning in the air, and if you listen to the soundboards, it says, so they didn't follow the contracts and regulations and the promises and all sorts of other things. They actually picked up the baby and swapped them all around as if you were part of a litter, and they put another one in your crib, or whatever they call it, and people came in and said, oh, that's mine. I had twins, they're over there, and this and that, and this and that, and tours of people that through like you're some kind of novelty item that happens all the time and things. And right at that second, well, Bear Sound Assistant, it seems to be the main attraction of the entire show, and he starts off and he says, well, my baby's being born today, and the whole crowd said, yeah, I don't know, that's it. At the same time, Bob was like, fire wheel burning in the air. It was just some weird coincidence that, the what? Oh, no, well, 10 minutes worth of reel is about all we get. Well, sometimes 20, or go ahead and maybe, well, we had something else in there. It was a City Hall, the two popes. Then we have any other advertisements after that. I think it was Rent. Now, Rent had nothing to do with both of those, but something about. I know it doesn't go 83,000 miles an hour. I know that was a bit of an exaggeration. I mean, it's a good guess as far as fast and very fast, and some things might go that fast, or maybe that they thought and they measured like how fast the moon might be moving or something, and immediately started to relate it to the Earth's spin cycle or somewhere from Hubble, and estimates through complicated mathematics or whatever. And then I started thinking, arts and entertainment, medias and musics, and Didn't they make a musical about that? Oh, that is similar to City Hall, which really only mentioned 20 floors below sea level in a bunker, which is the only thing I could really relate to in that. Besides that, it sounded like they were having a lot of fun making music, I guess, in sort of, laughy matter. They made it an illusion of Romeo and Juliet, so I thought about Leonardo DiCaprio with swords. I don't know, I just thought those, I don't know, I thought those things were kind of cool at some point. It's dangerous, yeah, but I mean, and then you look at the right to bear arms, and it's still, it's really still today. A lot of people still think they're cool, brand new invention. Over here, yeah, well, everything's kind of brand new over here when you look at people have been here for 10,000 years, all living in about the same way. And 200 years ago, the entire Western world found out that, there was an entire Eastern world, and now the Eastern world is the Western world, I suppose. And I mean, if you want to look at the compass that way, well, in 1640, there wasn't so many people that knew, but there were settlers here. And then 1776 is when they kind of said, okay, that's enough. There's enough people here. And they're kind of still in that mode, It's like, it's okay. There's not many indigenous left, and there was a severe laws and policies and regulations from 1640 to 1776, and this. Um, anyway, so hmm? Oh yeah, not necessarily the next advertisement. So there's the two popes, and then there was Ren, right? So they talked something while they were singing about something else, and they says kind of like when they say in "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" It says Andrew will wear the robe and crown. Literally, Drew, Drew, as if they're referring to the boy born into the grateful